Welcome to the Point of Focus Podcast. Jer's back to talk everything into reality.
We'll be back every week, all season long.
With your host, Jeremy Piccott.
Focusing only on things that we want to get bigger in our lives.
Made by coaches and collaborators coming together for the purpose of co-creating.
Enjoy or join the in-depth discussion, information, and how-tos.
Stay tuned for another episode of the Point of Focus Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Point of Focus Podcast. In today's episode, we have Lanell Beckles. He's co-founder of Ocams Fitness, a virtual fitness company for people who want to hack their biology with as little effort as possible. If this sounds crazy, it's because he spent years working with people of all levels, from Olympians and professional athletes to your everyday recreational warrior. He's here today to tell us how he learned to do the things that matter in his health to free up more time to work on other areas of his life. Please welcome Lanell Beckles.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yes, so happy to have you on.
Cool.
So tell me, what really matters in health?
Oh my goodness. This is a loaded question for so many people. Considering the world today, probably the number one thing that people have to get under control is their stress. Because most of the things most of the actions that people are doing are because of stress. So when we look at people who are overeating, when we look at people who are having a hard time sleeping, it all stems from stress. So when I start working with clients, I usually focus on that. How can we make it so that your body is nice and calm on a regular basis? Because if you don't, your body really doesn't want to give up any of its resources. So for a person who's trying to lose fat or a person who's trying to gain muscle, your body doesn't want to do anything because it thinks it's being chased by a lion. And if you don't get any of this under control, you end up overeating, you end up having poor sleep, your hormones are out of whack. There's so many different things in the cascade that will really affect your body when your stress levels are just out of whack. So
stress. It's one of the pillars that I don't focus on as much as the other ones. Nutrition, exercise for sure, stress management. So what are some tools that you've used?
Oh my goodness. So when it comes to stress, I'll give you an example of a client that way back in the day I worked with, and we did a really good job, but I actually let her walk away. Most trainers would be like, oh my God, what did you do? But I'm the type of trainer that thinks that if someone else can do a better job, I'll probably lead them to another place. And I think I could do a pretty good job of myself. So at one point, this was actually one of my first few clients. She came because her husband was working with me, and I helped them lose quite a bit of weight in a really short time. And so she came to me, and I figured out that, okay, I can do this. And she managed to lose about 20 pounds in about 3 months. So a really good result. However, at that point, she continued to work with me and continued to lose maybe 5 pounds in a year. So for me as a trainer, I'm thinking that I'm a horrible trainer because I can't make this woman change her body. But yet she was getting stronger. She was feeling better. All these other subjective measures were getting better, except she wasn't getting to her goal. So at that point, I started to talk to her about other options, and she was so kind to me. She let me experiment on so many different things. So I was giving her supplementation. I was telling her to track her food in a different way. I even talked to her about a continuous glucose monitor, so that way she can start to work on her insulin levels. And yet nothing was working. So at that point, I proceeded to give her to a naturopath. So I'm very high on naturopaths and functional medicine doctors. So I gave her to the naturopath, and within about 2 months, I said, she lost 40 pounds with the naturopath. Most trainers are going to be like, okay, I quit, I'm not good enough. But I continued to actually look at the program that she was doing. And the big thing that she was doing was she was taking away the exercise. And I'm like, what the heck? Most people are talking about exercising more and burning calories, and she actually did the opposite and said, hey, instead of doing that, you're going to do more restorative exercise. You're going to do more yoga. You're going to do more Pilates. You're going to take walks. You're going to read. When your day is done at work, you're not going to open up your email. You're not going to open up your phone. You're actually going to go and do something else. Go play with your son. And so all of these new things that this woman was doing really opened my eyes up to, like, maybe people don't need to work out harder. They just need to manage their stress and get every so often a bout of exercise, but nothing that's going to really put them in the hole. Because most people, especially CrossFitters, and I'll pick on CrossFitters, they're about working out as hard as possible all the time, 24/7. And so what happens is their cortisol levels are all jacked up, and they can't seem to lose belly fat. So I am starting to implement more nutrition in terms of what foods work with your gut, because our gut microbiomes are not the same. They're very different. And then I also start to implement less exercise, more restorative exercise, more walking to help people. And then I start to pair in more individual supplementation to help manage their cortisol. So those are kind of the tools that I've used for people, and it helps out a lot.
Wow, yeah, everybody's got that more is better mentality for sure, especially when it comes to working out.
Without a doubt. And I've adopted that for myself now, because I used to work out on a regular basis, and lots of injuries happened, and I ended up just kind of running myself into the ground. And now I work out way less. I'm not as concerned about being ripped and having a six-pack. I'm more concerned about longevity and keeping my biological age as low as possible. And so I don't mind working out twice a week. Maybe I'll hit up 8 workouts in a month, but it wouldn't surprise many people to see I hit 4 workouts in a month. And I just go and walk, and I go and do other things. Like this morning I went and played pickleball, which is a very popular sport amongst older people. Sorry. Hopefully your audience is going to be like, who's he calling old? But I went out there, and all those people are super happy. They're having fun. They're excited about playing. And that's where I want to be down the line. I want to have a body that's working, a body that's healthy, a mind that's healthy and sharp, and just have fun.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about the eating for your gut.
Yeah, absolutely. So this goes way back in the day when I studied under Charles Poliquin. Before he passed away, he was giving out a lot of seminars, and I found him through a YouTube video. And then all of a sudden I just said, you know what, this is the guy that's going to teach me everything. And I started taking more and more courses with him, and he did a course called Metabolic Analytics. In that course, he actually was able to tie in a lot of medical stuff with a lot of strength and conditioning. So he paired in, why it is that certain people can handle certain amounts of volume. He paired in how you're going to offset a lot of these metabolic disruptors, which I've seen. And he also said that everyone's gut microbiome is different based on the amount of food that's available to them. So for a person who lives up north, way up in Canada, they don't have like fresh fruits and vegetables on a regular basis. You're not going to get, pineapple in Newfoundland. You're not going to get coconuts and coconut milk and all this stuff. You're going to get more fattier cuts of meat. You're going to get salmon. You're going to get cod and trout and mackerel, fish. And then you're going to get more livestock, very sturdy livestock and root vegetables. For me to take someone who's living in Canada and put them on a diet in the Mediterranean or even like around the equator, they're going to be shocked, and their gut's going to be like, what the heck is this? And now we have food that's available all year round, anywhere in the country, and our bodies are not used to it. So what we do is we have a third party company that we use to do a gut lab test at home, really simple. And it comes back and it tells you what foods are disrupting your metabolism. So they have everything from, viruses to toxicity to cortisol management. And then we match the foods that they need to avoid with the foods that actually are going to help repair their metabolism. And then we just start that protocol and see what happens. And then we test every 3 months. And all of a sudden people start to feel better. They take away the foods that are causing inflammation. And voila, that's as simple as that.
Nice. That sounds extremely helpful. Now, is it foods that surprise you, or is it foods that are like really obvious?
No, they're foods that really surprise me. Most people say, oh, okay, take away the processed foods, take away the sugar and the wheat. And most people are saying that already. In this case, it's more foods that you would never think of. For instance, Stephen Gundry wrote a book called The Plant Paradox, and he actually enlightened people to the fact that plants really don't want to be eaten. So in a day and age when everyone's saying, vegan is the best or vegetarian is the best, I'm on the other end where I'm saying, no, there's certain vegetables that are really good, especially if you cook them. And then there's certain vegetables you should not eat. What I've found after looking at, quite a few gut lab tests is that bell peppers are on people's list regularly. Bell peppers, beef is on there as well. And this was hard for me because I was eating the Vertical Diet by Stan Efferding and doing pretty well. And it's a really good, simple diet. But yet all of my foods came back as white rice was not on there. White rice is an avoid. Beef was an avoid. Eggs were an avoid. And so I had to sit there and make a total 180 and say, okay, how can I support my body on food that I've never eaten before or don't really eat much of? And all of a sudden I start to change it ever so slowly, started to add in more of the superfoods, took away all the avoid foods, and then my inflammation went down. My eczema got better because I have kind of the triad of illnesses, asthma, allergies, and eczema. And all of those went away in a matter of weeks. And I was like, okay, there's something to be said of this. So when I put people on this, they really feel a difference. Their brain clarity comes back, their energy levels come back, their sleep gets better, and it all stems from feeding their body the right foods versus what the media is saying is the right foods.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, inflammation is literally like my worst enemy in the entire world. I can't deal with being bloated anymore. So I stopped eating artificial things.
Yeah.
It got to that point.
It makes a difference. And there's so much artificial, chemicals in most of our foods. One of the best diets out there is the Whole30. However, it's not really sustainable and easy because it forces you to take out pretty much the whole middle of the supermarket and even one side of the supermarket as well, because that's where all the pastries are. That's where I live. But the Whole30 is great because it forces people to get back to eating like whole foods. And when they do that, they actually feel amazing, but they'll get better when they start implementing a Whole30, the foods that they need to avoid, the foods that they need to introduce more of to feel better. And then within a matter of 3 months, they're like, okay, that's good. And what you may find is that your gut will actually get better. It'll heal because the inflammation and the inflammatory markers are down. And so your body can actually heal better. And you're just like, okay, this is where I need to be. So.
Wow. So this is something that I guess you would have to keep up with once you started doing it?
Not necessarily. Once you do it for 3 months, usually people get better and your gut starts to heal because it takes about 21 days for a gut to feel better. And I think it's more like 3 months because unless you can really eliminate everything out of your gut, introduce a full gut protocol, you're not going to be better in 21 days. It's going to take a little bit longer. But after a certain amount of time, you do feel so much better than you ever did before.
Yeah, I've experienced that. One bite will send you 3 weeks in the wrong direction too. Of the wrong
Yeah,
food.
one of the things that many people can do is start implementing supplementation to help them out, because the gut has really three components to it. The front side, which is your mouth, the saliva, and all the enzymes. Then you have your small intestine, which is where your gut is really pulling all the nutrients out. That's where you're really breaking down all the components of that food. All the chyme is starting to go in there, and then your backside, your large intestine, is kind of where you're pulling all the toxins out, where you're really starting to pull the last bit of the nutrients out, and also your probiotics, your microbiota is a little bit more in your large intestine as well. So everyone thinks that, oh, okay, I'll just take probiotics in order to heal my gut, and that's really not where it is. You actually need to change your microbiome, and it's not as simple as just taking probiotics. There was a really good podcast the other day from, I want to say, Andrew Huberman, and he pulled in a gut specialist. And what they found is that probiotics doesn't help. What really does help is fermented foods. So thinking of your yogurt, your kefir, your kombucha, your sauerkraut, your kimchi, those are your fermented foods that you can take. Really good pickles, not the store-bought pickles, but like your really quality homemade pickles. All of those are going to be fermented foods that when you take on a regular basis are going to really change your microbiota for the better, but you need to do that on a regular basis. Also, when people eat, they really don't have the same amount of enzymatic activity that they used to. So what I do is I tell people, hey, you're going to take a digestive enzyme to be able to help break down the food, and that's going to really help you out a lot. And then another thing is most people can take in some apple cider vinegar to help their insulin levels, so that way they don't shoot through the roof. So there's a few little tips that will really help people out if they manage to say, hey, I need a pizza day, and pizza is not on your menu.
Yeah, it's not anymore. That's the one I miss the most.
Yeah. I mean, people can make a pizza. Like sourdough is a really good alternative for most people. Like most people think like, oh, I need a pizza, but most people should like look into getting like a sourdough starter, or looking to getting more international flour as an alternative, because in America our wheat, our flour is homogenized. I don't know what it is in Canada, but in America, everything is homogenized, which means you can develop an allergy or a sensitivity much faster than you would in Europe, where they have thousands of strands of wheat, so your body never gets used to the same strand.
No, yeah, because I'm totally sensitive. Like, I don't want it anywhere near anything.
Have you ever been to Europe? Have you ever been to Europe and eaten their food?
No.
Yeah. So I've had this happen where people who are sensitive in the States, or I haven't, even in Canada as well, they go to Europe and they start having the bread and everything, and they're like that. None of their symptoms come. So it really is an issue of just the fact that we homogenize all of our wheat, all of our strains, and in Europe they're a bit more freelance. So they let all the farmers actually grow their own food, and so you get these different strands, and your body never gets used to the same thing.
Wow. Yeah, especially with a busy lifestyle. I mean, you're constantly eating a lot of the same meals. We're humans. We're creatures of habit.
Yes, we are. That's one of the things that's hard for a lot of people, and I understand it. But varying it up is probably one of the best things that you can do for your gut microbiota.
Nice. So, where do people find you when somebody wants to try this out?
Oh my goodness! So I do have a website, and you can go to ocamsfitness.com. That's OCCAMSfitness.com. For everyone that comes, we have a free masterclass that shares with you the 3 mistakes that most people are making to changing their body. that you have access to that for free, and it really illuminates why people are not getting to where they need to go because they're doing these 3 mistakes, and it'll really kill your progress.
Awesome. That's really cool. Now, is there anything else you want to share with us?
Oh, geez, what would I share? One of the best things that people can do for their body is to develop the proper sleep routine. The reason why this is because sleep is when your body is going to repair itself. So for anybody out there who's having a hard time getting a really quality night's sleep, developing your sleep routine is probably one of the best things that you can do. However, sleep is not as simple as like, oh, okay, I go to bed at a certain time. It really has a lot of different components, but having a really good sleep routine and waking up at the same time are probably the 2 best things that you can do for your body to get into the rhythm of making sure your circadian rhythm is on point. So I would encourage everyone to go out there, develop a quality sleep routine. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can feel free to reach out to me. I'm on pretty much almost all the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you very much, Lanell. That's very interesting. I would love to have my gut checked and see what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, you would. It's really quality. I get consistent messages like, "Hey, can you read this?" I'm like, maybe. But I do read the gut lab test for all of my clients in there just to make sure they're on the right track, and it really helps them out a lot.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Like I said, and everybody, Lanell Beckles.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks again.